Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Where we continue to follow the capture and killing of Osama bin Laden now.
Those are just some of the scenes overnight as thousands of Americans gathered in celebration of Osama bin Laden's death.
Former Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill says he has thought about the mission every day since that May Day in 2011.
For multiple conversations you had with Rob O'Neill over the past year and a half, how'd you get
access? And you described that his head kind of exploded when you hit him.
I actually hit him 3 times because I shot him twice when he was standing and once on the ground.
That is the fucking American badass right there. Go, go, go.
We are not going for fame and we are not going for bravado. We are going for the single mom who dropped her kids off at elementary school on a Tuesday morning, and then 45 minutes later she jumped to her death out of a skyscraper.
If you need help, hang up and then dial your operator.
I'm Rob O'Neill, and this is the Operator Podcast.
Here we are, episode 118 of the Operator Podcast. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Robert J. O'Neill, because I'm your host pretty much every week. Sometimes we don't have a podcast due to some travel issues or making big movements, or I mean moving stuff. Don't. I'm not talking about like the Young Guns movements. But yeah, this is 118. We do have some stuff to talk about today. Because all hell's breaking loose. I talked to some congressmen today that are heading overseas to try to stop World War III. You'd think you could go to the Pentagon or the White House, but the word I'm getting is, and I'm not making this up, is we need to get a non-woke military because shit's going down, man. And we'll get into that. It should be fun. Speaking of the administration, I got to give them props at first. They did put up the 2 props on this one. They did put up the White House Christmas tree, and they called it a Christmas tree, huh? Even Joe Biden called it a Christmas tree too. I haven't heard the word yet if Kamala Harris has called it, because do you remember a few years ago when she was yelling at you, "How dare you say Merry Christmas" or whatever? That was the flavor of the week, and that's how they roll. Other than starting World War III, I don't think the vice president and the president and the first lady and the second gentleman, I guess, I don't think they get along. It appears they don't get along. I think they were at the Christmas tree lighting, and President Biden did. The tree's awesome. The tree looks good. And the first lady's job is to take care of the East Wing, the decorating, and the Christmas tree. Right? That's part of her duties. I love duties. That's two duty jokes. Yeah, in this episode already. If you didn't see I think it was Young Guns or the second one where he said they were talking about I got to go make a movement. Anyway, but the first lady takes care of all that stuff too. But I don't think Jill Biden can do this when she's running the White House, because Sleepy Joe's not running anything except to Angola, and then holding her under the bus. And see, there's the part of the rift that happened there, because Jill Biden really liked where she was because she was the first lady, but she's running cabinet meetings and stuff. And I've never met her. I've never met Dr. Jill, and she could be fantastic for all I know. So I'm not necessarily taking digs at her. I'm just I'm more poking fun at what you see happening, because she's mad. She didn't really like Kamala from the start, not even from the start, because in the primaries in 2020, before Kamala said, "We did it, Joe," she was calling him racist before she dropped out with less than 1% of any votes. So she was mad about that. She held that grudge for a while, and I get it. But see, in politics, man, politics is kind of like Twitter. All right, take it, then get over it. Because get a load of this. Politicians are gonna lie to you, all of them. They are going to lie to you because they want to stay in power. So when she's up there, that was in 2020 when everyone's racist, and she was calling him that, and she's trying to get a leg up or whatever. leg up Kamala. But she was mad about that, and then we did it, Joe, and then they got in by getting like 15 million more votes than any. It's crazy how they did that. Crazy. It's almost like it was mathematically impossible. But yeah, so she's mad about that, and then she's really mad because she's not getting a second term. She's leaving the White House, and they love DC, man. They've been there a long, long time. They made a lot of money off you and the office, and she doesn't want to leave. It's very lucrative for them. Plus, what comes with, unless there's like a blanket pardon for a lot of people, they could be in trouble. So she's mad about that. She's mad about how they had a coup and they took Biden out to run for. Why would the most popular president in the history of the galaxy not run for a second term? Ask yourself that. But because he wasn't going to win this one against Donald Trump, so they made up that BS about how for the good of the country, Joe Biden stepping aside, and even like Democrats came out saying the only bad thing is we're losing Joe Biden, but he stepped aside. No, he didn't. He got forced out by the people that are really running D.C. and are trying to get the one world order going. Pushed him out, put Kamala in, and they were even saying, well, it's a shame he didn't step aside in January, so she had more time. Maybe we could have won. Well, anyway, Jill Biden does not like Kamala Harris, and I don't think like Doug Imhoff, the first, second gentleman. So they did go to the first time they were seen, I think, in public was the Veterans Day celebration. You can celebrate Veterans Day. You don't celebrate Memorial Day. Celebrate Veterans Day. I know veterans do. I know a lot of veterans who do. And the Vice President of the United States, and hey, doesn't matter how they got there. She's there. So I'm as bad as anybody. I mess with the office. But if the Vice President of the United States walks past you, you look at her. Maybe you applaud her or him, depending on who it is. But Dr. Jill did not even look at, and I'm talking, they were like close enough to be face to face, but Jill Biden didn't face her. That was the Veterans Day thing, and then they just did the Kennedy Honors, which they do it once a year at the Kennedy Center, which is a great place. Again, it's funded by taxpayer money, like everything else in DC is. But that place is cool. A lot of great shows are on there. I used to go there a lot. I lived in DC for a long time. My friend Mickey Barra ran that place for 40 years, 45 years, possibly more. I could be wrong. Mickey could make, I might have told this story before, but they had a hoop backstage at the Kennedy Center, and Mickey could make this like 50-foot hook shot in a hoop, a basketball. Like he could take a long, I'd seen him do it in person a couple different times, and there's videos. I'm going to find a video and post it of him. It's just insane. Like, it was such a ridiculous shot. Magic Johnson was back there. And he didn't even try after Mickey threw one up and made it. And Magic's like, I'm good. I've made, even though I think Magic made one of the longest shots in basketball history. He hit like a 90-footer or something, which is nuts. That's a baseball throw. Good on him. A lot of sports talk here. Magic Johnson. I met him before too. Very cool guy. But yeah. So they're at the Kennedy Honors, and it just not even acknowledging that the first couple and the second couple sat right next to each other, and didn't even acknowledge each other. So needless to say, there's a little bit of I wonder if Joe Biden actually voted for Donald Trump. I mean, his boss Barack Obama probably told him not to, but you never know, man. Like the commercials for Kamala said, when you go in the booth and no one's there, you can do the right thing. So I'm banking that Jill did. I don't think Jill's taking that shit. I mean, she is. Again, I don't know her, but she strikes me as a fighter. But we only have a month left, give or take, and there's shit popping off that shouldn't be. So, I've even heard stories today of former Secret Service agents being very concerned about Donald Trump's safety now, because they're still not doing what they should, and they're also guarding people they shouldn't. The Secret Service, like Karine Jean-Pierre has Secret Service, For national security, I don't know. I'm not, I don't think it normally works that way, but they're always saying they're undermanned. Well, maybe because your budget's too big and you're sending too many people too many places, and you need to tighten it up. Because Secret Service, like everything else, they got a budget, and they're not concerned about their necessarily their jobs. They're concerned about spending all the money, and it's a huge budget. It's a lot. It's like 1.5 billion, I think. So fact check me on that one too. But then a lot of the dudes that they hire are I don't think they have law enforcement backgrounds. They have like psychology stuff like that, psychology backgrounds, things like that. But there's concerns about that. If I think there was a dude in Las Vegas that drove really close to the building that Donald Trump was in, and he turned out to be a Trump supporter. But you get that close with a truck full of homemade explosives, ammonium nitrate, who knows what you can cross the border with, because they're open and they want chaos. A lot of people want chaos, but they could bring a building down. What if the sleeper cells in Iran that are here want to do that? The Secret Service has got to get their shit together to the point where, I think there should also be private security, which you can do, but you got to get someone in there that wants to cancel a lot of these budgets, because government employees spend budget. They spend all the money, got to be spent, so we get it again. And that's how also the reason that there's $800 toilet seats in the Pentagon is because a lot of that money got shipped somewhere else. There's a lot of toilets in the Pentagon. 800 times whatever is a lot. It's a big building. If you've not been there, you've seen pictures. But yeah, that's where we're headed, that reminds me of today's sponsor to My Patriot Supply, because we're all feeling good right now where our country's headed, but I'm concerned because if we let our guards down, we get complacent. Like I've talked about before, bad things can happen. I've talked about preparation. I talk about My Patriot Supply every week. That's why I always prepare for emergencies, no matter how good and comfortable life gets. Always got to be prepared, because it only takes a second, and it's usually on a random Wednesday. But the only brand that I trust for my safety and security, my family's safety and security, is My Patriot Supply. You got to go check them out and get this for your family. It's just a peace of mind to have it in your garage, in your attic, wherever. Whether that's their emergency food kits, their solar panels, the solar power generators, or water treatment systems, solar power, water treatment, food, they're the best in the business. Right now, you can get their 4-week emergency food kit for $50 off. Their 4-week emergency food kit includes some of my favorite meals, like creamy Alfredo pasta. That's legit, and addicting snacks like sweet banana chips. With warehouses located across America, My Patriot Supply can send your 4-week emergency food kit in as little as 1 day. So go to my website, preparewithrob.com. Get your 4-week emergency food kit now. Get a couple of them. Preparewithrob.com. But don't wait, because emergencies can happen anytime. I feel like I'm beating myself in the head saying this. So preparewithrob.com. Get your 4-week emergency food kit, or several of them, right now. Preparewithrob.com, My Patriot Supply. But back to whatever we were talking about first. Are you familiar with what's happening in Syria? It's bad on the surface. The Assad family's been running it. Bashar al-Assad's been running it for a long time. A butcher, should be one of the most evil men to ever live, with the way he treated his people. He was known for having, he comes out in a nice shiny suit, not traditional Arab stuff, but he's just a bad dude, evil, like sadistic, like stuff that you probably, you'd have to go to a very gifted Hollywood writer to come up with some of the evil, demonic stuff that he was doing to his people. But they've been fighting these. They've been fighting there a long time. There's been a civil war there. ISIS was running part of it for a while. I remember Aleppo, all the bad stuff going on there. And then, but the rebels just took Damascus, with the capital, in basically in a blitzkrieg fashion, like just fast. They went in there organized to the point where Bashar al-Assad had to be rescued, if you will, by Russia, and he's been given a place to stay there now, which tells you a lot about Russia. I've never said that Putin's a good guy. He's doing what he needs to do to stay in power where he is, but they gave him refuge, and they took Damascus. So that's like the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. Because, yay, we got rid of Bashar al-Assad. But now we've got this group coming in that, they did liberate a lot of the prisons. And stuff they found in the prisons, man, if you got a stomach for it, there's videos out there now of some of this just old school torture type stuff. I don't know how many different. I heard the number 31 different types, and just the way people were like they were putting women in cells completely dark. By the way, no light, like it was designed for one person, like a 4x4, which is not comfortable, but they had like 8 people in it instead in the dark, which is just crazy. It shows the rebel fighters like breaking down walls to get in to these things, and the look on the prisoner's face, you could tell they've gone completely mad. They are crazy just from the way they were treated. They had like what do they call them? It's put a body in a waffle iron, kind of like that, a body press. They had those for people. Non-stop rape of the women that were housed, and like they call them acid rooms. I mean, what do you think they do in there? And just hundreds of thousands of people. I don't know how many were tortured to death, but they're shown breaking these people out, which is good. But now you're going to get Sharia law. I mean, not to living under Assad was good, because that was another one of those things like the Stasi in East Germany or the the Russian secret police, where they will family like it's kind of like Saddam Hussein in Iraq. Family members will tell on you. It's better to be close to it. You can hear them talk and then turn them in. I don't know what they call that, but it's like people. It's like during the lockdowns. During COVID, like there were people eager to tell on other people, just dying to catch you on the beach without a mask, or even on a beach. We remember how ridiculous that was. It's people at a point stopped caring about each other. Remember the toilet paper debacle? We didn't have toilet paper. It's not a survival mechanism. It's just nice to have, but someone bought it all in one store, and so some dude saw him, and he went to another store, and panic is contagious. I've said that before, and all of a sudden we're out of toilet paper. But you couldn't, if they thought you were against the regime, you're going to prison. If there's a whisper, and you got kids being born there in prison, and who knows what happens to them. It's really sad. But now you're liberated, sort of, and the rebels were letting people out. There were people wandering the streets that were in prison, no idea what's real and what's not real, kind of like Manhattan. But now you're going to get Sharia, okay? Just like what happened in Afghanistan. There have already been checkpoints set up by these militia, these freedom fighters, whatever they're trying to call them, with, God forbid, Christians, but with women in the vehicle, and they're told you are too free, and you are no longer allowed to leave the house uncovered or without a male relative. So that sucks. Because, hey, welcome back, ISIS. And we've given weapons to a lot of these people, and there's rat lines all over the place. Because we're always we the Americans are always involved in stinky shit overseas. But what concerns me about this, like I just mentioned, is a rise of ISIS, but not just ISIS. The ISIS is working with Al Qaeda, and they're working with some Shia. And here's where it gets nuts. This has a lot to do with Afghanistan and what happened there, because we left, and we found out stuff like Hamza bin Laden's alive. He's the son of Osama bin Laden that we said we killed in 2019, and actually they said they confirmed it. He's alive. He's working with the Haqqanis, working with Taliban, and they set up a lot of bases in Afghanistan, place where probably our bases. And I guess they've got like 120,000 trained fighters. This is Al Qaeda. They're probably calling themselves a different name. I'm not going to get into the different names because I won't remember and you won't remember. That's up for intel analysts. I was smart enough to carry a sledgehammer and a gun and get pointed that direction. But 120,000 fighters. Hamza bin Laden's running them, and they've got like a base in Nangarhar province. I've lived in Nangarhar province, Jalalabad city, and we were rebuilding it there. I lived there at a time when, right before Operation Red Wings, the Lone Survivor mission, when we could actually take motorbikes and go out in town and eat shawarmas, or I think they call them shawarmas. You did good-ass truck food is what it is. You want to make sure your stomach's adjusted to that place first. You don't want to step off a C-130 and just blast shawarmas in your face, because then you'll be blasting other stuff out. It's like one of those commercials where here's this great medicine you can have. By the way, here are the side effects. Wet Algerian ass farts or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a doctor either. But that's how we plan to win hearts and minds. You don't win hearts and minds by putting up bases, huge bases, and surging necessarily, unless it depends on where you are. I think the surge kind of worked in Iraq, but it didn't in Afghanistan, because when I was living there, the airfield, the ones the Russians built, there was barely a fence around it, and we had some rangers there. We lived in a safe house in the middle of town, by this big globe in the middle of a roundabout. But we could buy goods out in town, which means we're spending our money in a good way. It's not like we're shoveling briefcases full of money to warlords, which we did, but we're spending money in town and people are benefiting off that. Because of our safe house, we hired the plumbers, we hired the electricians, we hired the cooks, and I'm telling you, the goat in a whole meal deal is really good. Just don't watch them make the bread. We call it Harry Hobbit foot bread. But then they said there was going to be a surge. I remember talking to this particular admiral, and there's just a disconnect between boots on the ground and flag officers. They got to listen to it. And I remember we said something about, first of all, the IEDs will be coming with more. And they said there hasn't been a single IED in Afghanistan. Not a single one. There won't be. It's like, but there will be. And then we said, you're going to move us. So we had a safe house, the agency had a safe house, and then ODA, the Green Berets, had a safe house. And it's all down this place called Chocolate Alley. And because the kids would know when our vehicles came up, we'd throw them candy. Chocolate Alley, literally. They could say chocolate. And we said, we're able to pick the vendors. We're able to pick the semi-restaurants. We're able to move around town. You can't do that now. God, Jalalabad's dangerous as hell. But not as dangerous as Syria. But then we said, you're gonna build this up, and you're gonna bring thousands of troops in here, driving huge MRAPs. We would drive. We actually were driving unarmored Hiluxes for a while. We did have up armored Hiluxes too, but those stand out because they don't look the same. And it's sometimes you can get away faster. Not get away, but go through something faster if you look like. If you ever see a picture of me dressed in some local garb, I'm not gonna fit in Afghanistan, and I know that. I don't speak Farsi. I wouldn't even fit in Scotland because my accent's not good. But driving a car that looks like a local car quickly isn't going to turn heads. Driving 4 black SUVs that are up armored, they're gonna know who you are. So you're gonna make this big base. You're gonna bring all these guys and drive an MRAPs, and so you put yourself in the 20-year-old kid who's driving an MRAP now in Afghanistan. He's scared, going fast in that big thing, running over people sometimes. That's going to piss the locals off. Then you build this big compound, you bring 4 vendors in, and they're going to jack the prices of their rugs up 800%, and the locals are getting screwed. So that's bad, and that's the whole hearts and mind thing. But a lot of stuff bad happened in Afghanistan, and the invasion of Iraq. We fought hard in Iraq, and I always say, you did your job and you won when you had to. Like, you didn't fight for President Bush or Dick Cheney. You fought for the guy next to you. And that you did your job. So I'm not trying to say, but like Iraq's one of the weird ones too, where it's like we shouldn't have invaded, but then we shouldn't have left like we did, because when we left Afghanistan, because the whole time, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, a Jordanian, he actually became the #1 terrorist in the world, ahead of bin Laden, because he was literally beheading people, to the point where bin Laden actually tried to get in touch with him, say, dude, cool it. Because you're not making us look good. And I mean, not to say he wanted us to look good in our eyes, in their eyes, because they know they're the good guys. We know we're the good guys. So they're trying to build this caliphate. But then, so the Al-Qaeda comes in, who are Sunni, and they started civil wars all over the place. You got the Mahdi army and the Al-Qaeda in Iraq, and they're fighting because Al-Qaeda wants the chaos to mess with the Americans, to get unrest, because that's how they come to power, and they did. And like even to the point where President Obama was in charge at the time, there was a convoy headed north to south, I want to say towards Baghdad. We should have hit them with 2 A-10s, just drilled them all, but we didn't. And there's your ISIS, and they just start to spread because they're going to win with an iron fist. So back to Afghanistan, Nangarhar province in eastern Afghanistan, Hamza bin Laden is running training camps and 120,000 fighters. And now they're also working up in the north. There's a lot of training camps in Afghanistan. I got to get the numbers for you. But the rat lines from the training camps and the fighters eager to go there to fight, because what do they want to do now? Yes, the rebels took it, but the rebels are all linked: Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and some Shia militia. And I don't know, look, because there's liberators now, but how long, this happened in Kabul after the Russians left, in Kabul, Afghanistan. You take over the government, and then we have the capital. Now what? Oh, shit, we better fight each other because I want to be in charge. That's going to happen there. And Hamza bin Laden and his guys, the Haqqanis, are funding this stuff. We're still giving, they call it humanitarian aid, to Afghanistan, and millions a week. Humanitarian aid, where do you think it's going? To the humans or the Terrians? No, it's you're funding it now. And what they're trying to do is Osama bin Laden wanted to start a caliphate, and he didn't give a shit if it took 1,000 years. They've always said that the Americans have the clock, but we have the time. Gaddafi said that in Libya before we bombed him for some reason and turned that into a shithole, because that's where more of the training camps are there in northern Africa. Very dangerous. Libya, avoid that. If you want to see a pyramid, dude, go to Vegas, Luxor, roulette. What was I just saying? But it's so we're funding this. We were funding before because we're all saying, we gotta get rid of ISIS, but should they have gotten rid of the regime in Syria? Because we got rid of Saddam, but again, the devil you know, the devil you don't. We got rid of Saddam. That didn't turn out great, and not that it wasn't great for his people there either, especially the Shia, because he's a Sunni. But now if you can imagine, there's unrest going all across into Syria because Hamza bin Laden wants to help fulfill the caliphate. The ISIS tried it. If you remember, they had a caliph. They had the boss, man. He was killed. But they're trying it again, and they're trying to rise up. And now's a crappy time because we're going to be getting asked, well, are we going to bomb them? Well, Israel already is, and they're fighting, which is more unrest in the Middle East because we understand what's going on with Hamas and with Hezbollah in Israel. It's a tough place to live because of all the missiles and rockets getting fired into there. But now. This administration, the Biden administration, maybe they want more unrest because they're sending long-range missiles into Russia with a month left. Why? What are they doing? And what are we going to do if we start bombing? Does it lead to? Because we never escalate force ever, do we? We never do a thing called mission creep ever. We're just going to go in and go. That's what our government does. We solve problems and then we disband them. Even the NGOs. The non-government organizations, they're known terrorists working for a lot of these organizations just to go in there as top cover, and they get paid by how many, there's always a refugee problem. They're going to get more money how many refugees are still refugees. They don't have any interest in, they don't want to wrap it up either. They want the caliphate. So you got Sharia law, which is spreading. If you look back to, look at pictures right before 1979 in Iran. Before the Islamic Revolution. You got pictures of girls in miniskirts celebrating their birthdays with drinks. Look at them now. You better not show any hair, honey, or else you're going to be hanging from a crane. So is there a point where you say, let them fight it out? Or, because Do they want world domination? Maybe. There's a lot of bad people taking advantage of open borders in a lot of countries, and a lot of countries have no-go zones for the locals, which is going to get old. But I mean, at which point do you stop starting 20-year wars and getting our people killed, or do you wait here for them to come? Because the sleeper cells are here. I mentioned the Secret Service, what they're doing and not doing, and the open borders with is a hit coming here. I mean, this is why you got to be prepared for it. You got to keep your family prepared for it, because it's real, and they haven't forgotten about us. And since we're talking about Afghanistan, it reminded me of a couple things. One is a FOBIT. A FOBIT it's a little military jargon for a FOB is a forward operating base, FOB, because they love abbreviations in the military. And a FOBIT is someone who never leaves the FOB, just stays on base and usually gets first dibs on the PX or whatever they call it. They don't leave the base, but it's, they don't leave any the good stuff for the guys behind. So I bring this up because I'm talking about our sponsor Mando today, because I always ask if you're a stinky FOBIT. You go over there, you will be. It's hot there too, and not a lot of running water, outdoor plumbing. But if you have like some kind of grundle smell or whatever, Mando can help you. The smell of the Mount Fuji deodorant that I use immediately caught my wife's attention. She thought that I lit a candle or something in the room. It was just a spray deodorant that I love. And she said, only wear that when she's around. She absolutely loves it and stuff. And now that I use Mando, I don't have to use anything else. A sense of confidence, and I don't need to tell you what the benefits of that are. They have the whole body deodorant. It's seriously safe to use anywhere on the body, and I mean anywhere. Pits, packages. I mentioned grundles. You know what those are? Belly buttons, butt cracks. It's created by a doctor who saw firsthand that normal body odor was being misdiagnosed and mistreated, and Mando's American-made. The whole body deodorant is powerful enough for the toughest body odor, but gentle enough to use anywhere, like I said. And it's worth it because it's safe. It's aluminum-free, it's baking soda-free, cruelty-free, dye-free, it's vegan, and clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the man's odor is generally 5 out of 10. I'm not sure how I came up with that, but with Mando, it's 0. And that's what I'm talking about here. So check out Mando Starter Pack. It's perfect for new customers. It comes with the solid stick deodorant, Cream 2 deodorant, 2 free products of your choice. I use the mini body wash and the deodorant wipes in case you get stuck in an airport, and free shipping. And I do have a discount code for you to get hooked on some of my favorite smelling whole body deodorant that's on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code, The Operator, at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. So this equates to about 40% off your starter pack when you go to shopmando.com and use code The Operator. One word, shopmando.com. So the reason I bring a lot of this stuff up is because it concerns me, and it probably should concern you, not just for the taxes that you're paying and double paying on stuff you don't even realize you're getting taxed on. Income tax doesn't necessarily go to the roads. We had roads before income tax. But it should concern you because there is a deep state out there that didn't want Donald Trump in office. And a lot of the reason there's been attempts to kill him is because the time's coming. And it's not just because he's president-elect doesn't excuse that. And the problem is stuff like the accountability office. Like, what have you been doing forever? Because the Pentagon never passes an audit. I mentioned the $800 toilet seats. So what were they? I don't know. But a lot of people who are powerful behind the scenes, their fingerprints are on a lot of stuff. The White House announced that it can't find $6.2 billion it sent to Ukraine. $6.2 billion. Where'd it go? They don't know. And I mean, I've said before, what's going on in Ukraine? Well, we're sending a lot of money, a lot of your money there, or a lot of money they just print, devaluing the money that you already have, because money's free in D.C. and they're printing it. But then, from the lockdown, I hate to say the pandemic, but from the government lockdown, it was announced that the U.S. Treasury, that's our accountants, that's our people that make the money, track the money. Secret Service does. Secret Service job is to find the counterfeit money, but who knows where that is too. You can't even use a $50 bill in most places now because counterfeiting, or just it's not worth $50, that piece of paper you have. But they can't track $5 trillion in pandemic spending. Okay. Where does money like $6.2 billion in Ukraine and $5 trillion from the pandemic go? Someone's got it. It went somewhere. And when the new government, the new administration comes in and tries to hold them accountable, that's a lot of powerful people who could be in a lot of trouble if the government cooperates with itself, because there's no guarantee that it will. I mean, you've seen what they've weaponized, to include the media. And I like that. I don't think the media is getting paid like that. They just like the power of being on television. They like the power. And they'll say anything, tweet anything just to get a promotion. Screw anyone over to get a promotion. Most people, I've had good experiences with the media. I've been on a lot of different channels and different radio stuff. I've had mostly good experience face to face. So I don't mean to badmouth that, but something's going on somewhere behind the scenes, and a lot of people could get caught up in this. So that's why they're fighting. That's why I said last week with Carl Higbee that the fangs are coming out. And I mean, even with these blanket pardons that I mentioned earlier, Fauci comes to mind. They said that they could pardon him for what? I thought he was good. No, he must have done something that Joe Biden knows about. I think the blanket pardons are coming to a lot of people too. I think Biden's got to watch his back, because there are definitely backdoor deals. I mean, it is so common on the House and in the Senate to have those closed door meetings. Why are they closing doors on you? You're the voters. You don't work for them. They work for you. But they do that all the time. So there's backdoor deals a lot of places, and they've got. I mean, there are people in power that have dirt on a lot of people there. I've seen it in D.C. with a lot of the after hours stuff, and some backdoor deals where if people's names come up, and the right people like Kash Patel are in place, it could be bad. So these powerful people don't want to get in trouble, but powerful people protect powerful people. Except Donald Trump, they don't want him because he's never been a Washington insider, and he was new to the game in 2016, but now he knows the game because parts of the swamp, and like staffers too, chiefs of staff, a lot of lobbyists and lawyers, they kind of slithered their way in, and you could see the way that they treated Donald Trump, just screwing him over. And he's a shrewd businessman. He normally can tell when he's getting screwed over, but he didn't have the experience of working with that level of scumbaggery before. Now I think he's ready for it. And it's going to be interesting to see. I mentioned Pete Hegseth last week. See if he gets confirmed to be the SecDef. And then, the Office of Accountability, what are they going to do? Are they going to be able to trim the fat? Are they going to be able to treat the government like Elon Musk treated Google and just cut it? Because they cut so many employees Twitter, not Google, Twitter, X. But he bought, and I think he's willing to buy more stuff too. And he wants to get in there too because he's pissed off about the deep state and the woke mind virus that he calls it for personal reasons that you can look up. It's not hard to find. He's pissed. And I personally, having fought Al-Qaeda and ISIS and the Taliban and whomever, I don't want Elon Musk mad at me. It's not cool to have the richest man in the world mad at you. I mean, I mentioned rich people that are behind the scenes. He's been awesome as far as, okay, I'm rich, but I'm going to be in front of the scenes, bitch. I'm coming in hot. So that's going to be interesting, along with there's just other news out there. How's China going to react to this? Well, how's Russia going to react to this? Because every war game that we've had about nuclear war ends in Holocaust and nuclear winter. That's how it ends. And we've been losing war games to China. And we're shipping missiles over to Ukraine so they can launch on Russia. But some of the war games that just came out said that we will run out of missiles fighting China in weeks, and that's not good for us, especially when you consider EMPs. So I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole right now, just to I'm not trying to ruin your day. So like I mentioned before, you can't get complacent. You got to stay prepared to survival mode. Like I told my neighbors I told them about the stuff that I have in storage for emergencies. And then I told them about, I've mentioned before that I have shotguns for home defense because I just like a pump action shotgun. Excuse me for kicking ass. And they said, well, what if your food supply runs out? And I said, oh, that's easy. I'm going to eat you. I'm in New York. You don't have a gun. So anyway, do stay prepared. Use your weapon of choice for home defense. I prefer a pump action shotgun. But be able to defend yourself and defend your family, and obviously you're never out of the fight.